sprinkles, Santa Claus's special elf. Because everything is special with sprinkles. Santa Claus knows you're special too, and he has something to say to you. So listen close as Santa Claus shares holiday cheer with you. You can leave a special message for Santa Claus and get on the nice list at www.santaclaussays.net. Now here is the big man himself, Santa Claus!
Ho, 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 and Merry Christmas. And Santa Claus says to all the boys and girls of the world, Santa Claus says, be good for goodness sakes. Santa Claus says to be good for goodness sakes because Santa Claus listens to you. And every day during the Christmas season, I bring you a message of 3 things to share with you. One of them is a message of Christmas cheer. And that's what we have Sprinkles for. She gives us lots of Christmas cheer, doesn't she, as our elf. And we bring you, second thing we bring you is an adventure story. And we're reading the adventure story, The Life and the Adventures of Santa Claus. And we're down to the last couple readings from that book. And then the third thing we bring you is a letter that was sent to me. And I want to remind you that there still is time for you to send me a message. I know we're just a few days from Christmas, but you can send me a message at santaclaussays.net. That is my website. And you can send me a message there at santaclaussays.net. If you send it to santaclaussays.net/present, that's how I get an email, and I'll send you a present in your email. But that's also where you can send me a message by voicemail, where you talk into the website, into the microphone, and you leave me your voice message, and I hear your message. And then you can also leave me a text message, and I get those on my purple cell phone. And I get those, and I return those messages to you, so you can talk to Santa Claus. And I love to hear from you and to share Christmas cheer, a Christmas adventure story, and a letter to Santa with you. Now, I did want to remind you of just a couple of things. That on December the 23rd, and as some of you are hearing this, that may be tomorrow, but as December the 23rd at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, we have live Santa Claus Says Breakfast with Santa. That's on YouTube. You go to youtube.com at Santa Claus Says, and you and I can have breakfast together. And you can chat with me, and I will type on my computer, and I will chat with you. And we will have that time together, and we'll have some special things going on, some special stories, some reindeer games maybe, and some fun things that we can do at Breakfast with Santa. I will have my hot cocoa and my cookies, and I want you to have your pancakes and other things that you may have. We'll have that together. Now, don't forget, if you are a different time zone than Eastern time zone, you need to adjust that. But you can always watch or listen to the replay after that's over. That's December 23rd, 9 o'clock a.m., December 23rd, 2023, 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, live Breakfast with Santa Claus Says. And I hope that you'll join me there for that. Now, on December the 24th, Christmas Eve, that's a busy day for me, but I'm not too busy to spend some time with you. I'll be at your homes. I want you to leave me your cookies and your hot cocoa. But before we go on our trip, I will be reading this book, The Night Before Christmas. And it's a wonderful book, and I like to read it every year at December 24th. And we will read that book as a part of our adventure readings for Christmas time. So you don't want to miss The Night Before Christmas. Now, also on December 25th, Christmas Day. On Christmas Day, I will be having a very special reading for you about the very first Christmas. The very first Christmas is the story from the Bible when Jesus was born. And I want to read that story. It's the most important story that Santa Claus Says reads during the Christmas time. So I hope you'll join me. And then also on December 25th, I'll be telling you a little bit about what Santa Claus Says we'll be doing all year long as we get ready for next Christmas as well. And I hope that you will join me for all these things here at Santa Claus Says. You can find everything at santaclaussays.net. You can find the old episodes of the story time, and you can find everything you want about Santa Claus Says at santaclaussays.net. That's on YouTube and on Facebook, and at santaclaussays.net for the Apple Podcast and other ways you can listen to Santa Claus Says. Ah, boys and girls, there's the glockenspiel, the chimes, where Sprinkles is telling us that it's time for our story. And we've been reading all this time, all of Christmas season 2023, The Life and the Adventures of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum. And the good folks at the Gutenberg Project are allowing us to read this book to you. And we're coming towards the end of the book. I want to remind you that the book was written. L. Frank Baum, who wrote this book about me, also wrote a book called The Wizard of Oz. And there's a lot of people who have had fun with that book and the movie about that over the years. But I hope that you've had a lot of fun with this book as well. And we're reading today the second part of the chapter about how the stockings were hung by the Chimneys. And this is really getting good. We just got a couple more days to go with our story time. So listen carefully to the reading about how Santa Claus got together with the reindeer to get preparations to hang up, and how our first stockings were hung by the chimney. Let's begin the story. So Glossie and Flossie went to the forest to choose their mates. You remember from before that Glossie and Flossie are the reindeer, and they were going to get other reindeer to join with Santa Claus to help pull the sleigh. And Claus began to consider the question of a harness for them all. In the end, he called upon Peter Canuck for assistance, for Peter's heart is as kind as his body is crooked, and he is remarkably shrewd as well. And Peter agreed to furnish strips of tough leather for the harness. And this leather was cut from the skins of lions and had reached such an advanced age that they died naturally. And on one side was tawny hair, while the other side was cured to the softness of velvet by the deft Canucks. When Claus received these strips of leather, he sewed them neatly into a harness for the 10 reindeer. And it proved strong and serviceable and lasted him for many years. The harness and the sledge were prepared at odd times. And so Claus devoted most of his days to making the toys. These were now much better than the first ones had been, for the immortals often came to his house to watch him work and to offer suggestions. It was Nasile's idea to make some of the dolls say Papa and Mama, and it was thought of the Canucks to put a squeaky thing inside the lambs. So when a child squeezed them, they would say, Bah, bah. And the Fairy Queen advised Claus to put whistles in the birds so they could be made to sing, and wheels on the horses so children could draw them around. Many animals perished in the forest from one cause or another, and the fur was brought to Claus that he might cover the small images of beasts he made for playthings, of which he did. And afterwards, he found that it amused the little ones immensely. And so the toys grew in beauty and attractiveness every day until they were the wonder even to the immortals. When another Christmas Eve drew near, there was a monster load of beautiful gifts for the children ready to be loaded upon the big sledge. Claus filled 3 sacks to the brim and tucked every corner of the sledge box full of toys besides. Then at twilight, the 10 reindeer appeared, and Flossie introduced them all to Claus. They were Racer and Pacer, Reckless and Speckless, Fearless and Peerless, and Ready and Steady, who, along with Glossie and Flossie, made up the 10 who traversed the world these hundreds of years with their generous master. They were all exceedingly beautiful, with slender limbs, spreading antlers, velvety dark eyes, and smooth coats of fawn color spotted with white. Claus loved them all at once, and he loved them ever since, for they are loyal friends and have rendered him priceless service. The new harness fitted them nicely, and as soon as they had fastened to the sledge by twos, with Glossie and Flossie at the lead, those wore the string of sleigh bells, and were so delighted with the music they made that they kept prancing up and down to make the bells ring. Claus now seated himself on the sledge, drew a warm robe over his knees and a fur cap over his ears and cracked his long whip as a signal to the start. Instantly, the 10 leaped forward and were away with the wind, while jolly Claus laughed gleefully to see them run and shouted in his big, hearty voice, "Ho, ho, 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 and a ha, 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 and a ho, 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 ha, hee. Now away we go over the frozen snow, as merry as we can be. There are many toys in our load of toys, and many joys indeed, as many a child will know. We'll scatter them wide, and on our wild night ride over the crisp and sparkling snow." Now it was this on this same Christmas Eve that little Margot and her brother Dick and her cousins Ned and Sarah, who were visiting at Margot's house, came in from making a snowman, with their clothes damp, their mittens dripping, and their shoes and socks wet through and through. They were not scolded, but Margot's mother knew the snow was melting, but they were sent to bed early that their clothes might be hung over chairs to dry. The shoes were placed by the red tiles of the hearth, where the heat from the hot embers would strike them, and the stockings were carefully hung in a row by the chimney directly over the fireplace. That was the reason Santa Claus noticed them when he came down the chimney that night, and all the household were fast asleep. He was in a tremendous hurry, and seeing the stockings all belonging to children, he quickly stuffed his toys into them and dashed up the chimney again, appearing on the roof so suddenly that the reindeer were astonished at his agility. "I wish they would all hang up their stockings," he thought as he drove to the next chimney. "It would save me a lot of time, and I could then visit more children before daybreak." When Margot and Dick and Ned and Sarah jumped out of bed next morning and ran downstairs to get their stockings from the fireplace, they were filled with delight to find the toys from Santa Claus inside of them. In face, I think they found more presents in their stockings than any other children of that city had received, for Santa Claus was in a hurry and did not stop to count the toys. Of course, they told all their little friends about it, and of course, every one of them decided to hang his or her own stockings by the fireplace the next Christmas Eve. Even Bessie Blysom, who made a visit to that city with her father, the great Lord of Lurd, heard the story of the children and hung her own pretty stockings by the chimney when she returned home at Christmas time. On his next trip, Santa Claus found so many stockings hung up in anticipation of his visit that he could fill them in a jiffy and be away again in half the time required to hunt the children up and place the toys at their bedsides. The custom grew year by year and as always has been a great help to Santa Claus. And with so many children to visit, he surely needs all the help that he can get. That concludes this part of the story for today, boys and girls, about how the stockings were hung by the chimney. And a reminder, don't forget to hang up your stockings so Santa Claus can fill your stockings up with surprises for you. And don't forget to leave me cookies and hot cocoa as well. And that concludes our story time for the day, boys and girls. There is our glockenspiel. There is our chimes where we're being told by Sprinkles that it's now time for story time here at SantaClausSays.net. And just a reminder, even though it is Christmas Eve is very close, you can still send me a message. You can still send me a message to SantaClausSays.net. That's where you can send me a voicemail. You can send me a text message, which I get on my purple cell phone, or you can send me an email at SantaClausSays.net/present, and I will email you a present as well. Here is our letter for today, boys and girls. It goes like this. And this letter is very neatly typed up on a nice, beautiful piece of paper. Dear Santa Claus. Hello, Santa Claus. Hello. My name is Sonic. I am a 16-year-old boy who lives in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a remote country that is located in the southern part of China, and I love playing computer games and programming in my leisure time. I want to know more about Christmas and hoping for your reply. This must be the greatest Christmas gift in the world. Instead of other experiences and uncommon things, be my Christmas gift. And it says, welcome to Hong Kong. And then Sonic also teaches me how to say Merry Christmas in Chinese. And I love that. And I love this letter because it tells me that Santa Claus is all over the world and that the experience of Santa Claus, however you experience Santa Claus, is very, very, very important. And I want to remind Sonic and all the children of the world that Santa Claus is there for you. And I listen to you. And I love you. And I'm here for you. And I hope that you will continue to be in contact with me all year long. We're going to teach you how to do that on Christmas Day, how to be in contact with Santa Claus all year long. So listen to my Christmas Day show as well here at SantaClausSays.net. Boys and girls, there is the Glockenspiel. There is our chimes where Sprinkles is telling us it's about time to say goodbye for this episode of SantaClausSays.net. We've been with you every day during the Christmas season from Thanksgiving Day through Christmas. If you missed any of the prior episodes, you can always go back and listen to them or watch them on YouTube or on Facebook or on the podcast. You can listen to that at SantaClausSays.net or on Apple Podcasts. We hope that you will do just that. I want to remind you about a few things. Then on December the 23rd, and as some of you listen to this will be tomorrow, that you can hear and be with SantaClausSays.net live. Santa Claus Says Live is on YouTube at 9 o'clock a.m., December 23rd. That's Eastern time. If you're on a different time zone, you're going to need to get with someone and help to figure that out. And we can comment back and forth on the chat on YouTube. So that's at youtube.com at Santa Claus Says, and you can find me there. And hope that you'll do that. And I'll have my cookies and my cocoa, and I hope that you will have your pancakes or whatever you have, and we'll share that time together. We're going to have some very special things. We're going to have some special games and things that we're going to play on Santa Claus Says Live on December 23rd. Then on December 24th, 2023, it is our Christmas Eve edition. That's a very busy day for Santa Claus, but I will be reading on that day, the night before Christmas, this book, and I'll be reading the night before Christmas. I hope that you'll join me in reading that book on December the 24th as we have the reading of the night before Christmas. Then on December 25th, Christmas Day, that is the day Santa Claus is going to read the story of the very first Christmas, the birth of Jesus. I'll be reading that from the Bible. And I hope that you will join me for that very special SantaClausSays.net. That's also, we're going to talk about how you can be in touch with Santa Claus all year round. Everything you find is at SantaClausSays.net. We look forward to hearing from you because Santa Claus listens and loves you. And remember, Santa Claus says to always be good for goodness sakes. Wish you a Merry Christmas, boys and girls. We'll see you soon as Christmas is getting closer and closer. Goodbye and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
You're special to
Merry
Santa
Christmas.
Claus, just like Sprinkles. Get on Santa's nice list at SantaClausSays.net and watch Santa Claus Says on YouTube. Tell him Sprinkles sent you.